Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And what I'm starting to do is to go through a set of PowerPoint presentations for Murox, HTML5, and CSS3, 4th edition, which is one of the two textbooks for the Rankin Technical College AWD Application and Web Development 1000 Web Development Technologies course. So far I've gone over Chapter 1, Introduction to Web Development, and Chapter 2, How to Code, Test, and Validate a Web Page. So as you can tell, we're up to Chapter 3 here. All right, how to use HTML to structure a web page. So we're going to do that right now. As has been my policy, I'm not going to read to you from these slides. I will use my own verbiage, etc. But to me, to sit there and read these objectives to you is a waste of both our times. So we're going to talk about some common HTML elements in here. You can see some of them right there. And other ones. Again, remember, as mentioned previously and in previous lectures, this is an initial exposure. It's not that we're going to go over this and you're going to go, boom, I get this. I can write total complete web pages now. No. All right. First thing they talk about here is a browser that shows the title in the Favicon. This title that says San Joaquin Valley Town Hall with a pipe sign, speakers and luncheons, that's up here. It doesn't all show because you only get a certain amount of room for the title. This, where they talk about a favicon, that favicon is this thing that you see right here. So this right here, the verbiage, that's your title. The image you see there, that's your favicon. All right. Now, when you look in here, you'll notice that everything that's in here, I don't want to click because then what it does is instead of my screen being full size, it makes it smaller. But everything that's in here that's a meta tag, that's information about the website. Notice all the title information and all meta tag information, and from the last chapter, the link that we put into our CSS file, they're all in the head tag. Information that appears in the head tag between the beginning and ending head tags, this does not show directly on the screen. That's information about the site. The title we saw already. All right, I mentioned the meta tag in the last chapter, which means that we're using UTF, which is like Universal Transition Format or Translation Format or something like that. It's an 8-bit or a Unicode format. This description would say that the description and the keywords are used by what are called SEO, search engine optimization. So when different search engines like Yahoo and Google and I don't know, Bing, when they come through and they go through your site to see where you're going to be ranked, etc., they look for these words. All right. I think I mentioned to you that recently I had my students go and do a site for a friend of mine who's got a pet walking business, and it's leavemeathome.com. This is the site that got created by one of my students, the winning entry, if you want to call it that. All right. But the reason I'm showing you that is if I come over here and I right mouse click and I go to view page source, well, when you look over here, here's his meta tags. Leave me at home, pet sitting, Bellevue, Tennessee, etc. And so there's some of them. All right. So these meta tags give information about the website. That information can then be used by search engines when they want to come through and do what's called spider the site to see if they're going to basically include it so that if somebody comes in and types into Google pet walking business Bellevue, Tennessee, my hope is leavemeathome.com, all right, the site of my friend Tom Parham, is what's going to come up. All right, and that's again this stuff that's in here. All right, so these are guidelines for the title tag. Remember again, the title tag is this, not the icon, but this. The title tag should always be coded in the head section, should accurately describe page content, should really include keywords that you want to use when you rank the page. All right? Should be interesting enough for the reader so they want to click on it. Should be unique. Should be no more than 65 characters long. Should have metadata. The description, as you already saw, should summarize the contents of the page. All right, should use no more than 10 keywords or phrases. All right. HTML that uses H1, H2, and P block elements. We already saw an H1 in the last chapter. We saw a P tag in the last chapter. I'm going to bring up that same code file that we had before. There was our H1 tag, and then we had 3 P tags. But I want to come in here now, and I'm going to put in 6 H1 tags. This is an H1 tag. And maybe I misspoke because there's going to be 6 tags in here, but I'm going to put in an H1 followed by an H2, followed by an H3, followed by an H4, followed by an H5, followed by an H6. Now, these are the only levels that we can have. There are 6 levels. They go from H1, which is the biggest, to H6, which is the smallest. All right? H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. You'll notice that every H tag has got an H tag that's got the same number. Now I'm going to save this just so you can see it. Come back to what we had up here before. That was somewhere in here. There it is. We did that, and then we changed it to that, and now I'm going to refresh. And there's our H1 tag. Remember, we put in red for all H1 tags. That's why this H1 and this H1 are red. And you can see they get progressively smaller as the number of the tag gets bigger. There's kind of an unwritten rule on websites that you should only have one, really just one H1 tag per web page. And that should be kind of the main topic of the page. Do people break that? Of course they do. People break rules all the time. But you really should try not to if you can help it. All right. So there's the H1, there's the H2, there's some paragraphs there and there. Another H2 here, and H2 here, and an H2 here. All right, guidelines for heading tags. Again, only code 1 H tag per page. Don't use heading levels as a way to size text. No, use CSS, which we're going to be getting into. All right. The next thing that's in here talks about block elements. And I'm going to digress here a little bit, and I'm going to go and I think I'm going to open up a new instance of Chrome here, and I'm going to type in W3 schools tag list, HTML tag list. All right, so there's an HTML reference, there's tags. And what you'll notice when you look in here, and this is not the right page, unfortunately. Oh, there they are. These are all of the different tags. And no, it's not the right page. All right. That's it. There's somewhere around 100 tags that you've got available in HTML. Now, when you look at these tags, you'll notice 3 things. The tag is either black, which means it's a tag that's been around for a while and it's still being used. Or it's got red in it where it says not supported in HTML5. What that means is the tag has been what's referred to as deprecated. Deprecated means it's been marked for extinction. What that means in a nutshell is that any new development should not include those tags. They've been replaced with something else. All right. There's also some tags that have got a little 5 here, looks like a 5 or an S in red, and those are new for HTML5. All right. So, what does that have to do with block elements? Well, you may or may not have noticed this, but when I brought up, where is it? There it is. Remember these H1 and H2 tags? Okay. Those are what are called block element tags. They take up the whole row. Notice that when I put color on here, it took up the whole thing. See that? All right. These are all paragraphs, so these paragraphs take up the whole thing. Now I want to show you the difference between what's called a block level tag, all right, and what's a non-block level tag, all right, sometimes called an inline tag. So what I'm going to do, and this is probably, in my opinion, the easiest way to show it to you, okay. If you remember, we had this. I'm going to go and comment out a bunch of this stuff for right now. All right, so I'm going to comment out all of this right here. I showed you the H1, H2, etc. All right, so now we've got this. In fact, I'm going to comment out everything here except the paragraph that we've got right here, the one with the yellow background. Okay, so I'm going to comment out everything else. Now I'm going to come in here and run this again in Chrome, and you'll see what it has. See that? Now the reason this is taking up the entire line like this is because that anchor tag, or A tag as it's called right there, is inside of a paragraph. And the paragraph is what's referred to as a block level tag. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy it and put it right below where it is. See that? And you'll notice that in there, it's now not in a paragraph. This is now not in a paragraph. All right? But I want to come in here. I'm thinking I can do this. We're going to find out. All right, I'm going to add a class right there. See if this works. So you saw it just a second ago and how that looked. Now, do you notice the second one here where it says speaker information? The thing this does not run all the way the whole width of the screen. Why? Because this was in a P tag. The P tag is a block tag, which means it takes up the entire browser area. This is an inline tag. All right, so what does that have to do with anything? Well, in here they're talking about block elements. So block elements are P tags, pre tags, block quotes, etc. They're elements that will take up the entire width of your page. All right, harder to tell right there, but I guess for now you'll have to take my word for it. Inlines, I gave you an example. All right, let's look at another one. Let's see. I'm going to come into I'll come into this paragraph that we just put in. All right, I'm going to come into that paragraph, or not paragraph, but what we just put in there, where it says speaker information. And I'm going to put in what's called a strong tag right there at the beginning of the word speaker, and another strong tag at the end of the speaker. Now watch when I run this, watch how the word speaker should now be bolded. See that? See how it's darker there than it is here? That's another inline tag. All right? These are all things that will become more and more natural to you as we go on. All right, character entities. I'm going to show you something that's probably not going to work. All right, so right now, what if I came in here and I wanted to put in a new paragraph? All right, so I want to put in a new paragraph right here, and I want that paragraph to say, I'm going to first say 6 is greater than 5. I think you'd all agree with that. But then underneath it, I'm going to put in another paragraph that says 6 is greater than 5. right, let's come in here and take what we were just working on previously, and let's comment that out. So now we only have these two things in here. All right, so I'm going to come back and run this again. Let's find it. It was right here. And it did work. 6 is greater than 5, 6 is greater than 5. But I really shouldn't write it this way. This can confuse the system and make it think it's the end of a tag. So instead of saying 6 greater than 5 like this, I should say ampersand GT semicolon. It's more typing, but this is what's called an HTML character entity. So notice that when I run this, it should look exactly the same as it did. And it does. But that's a better way of doing it. All right. Here's another example. If I wanted to come through here and I wanted to write a paragraph that said copyright 2019, and I want a copyright symbol there, JPS, that's me, Incorporated. All right. If I do it like that, it's going to work. It's not a problem. But you may or may not notice when I do this, I don't have a copyright symbol. I want one. So how do I do that? Well, one way that I can do that is to come through here, and right there I can put in ampersand copy. All right. So notice now how it changes. There's my copyright symbol. All right. And there are several symbols that you can put in. Again, if necessary, I can go back to W3 Schools and put in W3 Schools. And this is not the only site that has this stuff, but HTML character entities. And here's the list. In fact, that's not even all of them. There are more. All right, there's somewhere in the area of 100. All right, give or take. All right. HTML that uses the core attributes. Well, there's the HTML tag, there's the body tag, etc. Accessibility guideline. Always code the laying attribute. I didn't show you that. So, if we go back to what we looked at previously, which was this. Remember when we went back and we validated this at the end of the last chapter? I'm going to remove that laying equals en from here. Just that. And now I'm going to try to validate it again. Now it comes back and it says, warning, you really should consider adding a language tag to declare the language. It's not an error, but it's a warning. It's telling me, hey, you really are supposed to put in the language that you're using. Once it's back in there, boom, everything's cool again. All right. This is a tooltip. A tooltip happens when you take your cursor and you put it over something. I don't even see where the tooltip is right here. All right. It says an HTML page structured with semantic elements. This is what we'll get into. This class, the class AWD1000, is a class in, among other things, HTML5, the newest, latest, and greatest version of HTML or hypertext markup language. HTML5 uses what are called semantic elements, things like header, main, and footer. Why do we use those? Because, as it says, they indicate the structure of pages, and we will be going over those. All right. We will use things like figure and fig caption, which is the caption for your figure. All right. In the past, before HTML5, which is now somewhere around, I believe, 12, 15 years old, I'm not sure exactly, rather than using these semantic elements, you use divs and spans all over the place. A div is a block level element. So basically there'll be a line before it and afterward. It goes the whole line. Span is an inline element. Okay, we're going to get on those a lot. All right, but the idea is many div elements have been replaced with these semantic HTML5 tags. All right. A simple website folder structure. Okay. We're going to build something that's going to be similar to that. So let's talk about URLs. When a URL begins with http:// or https:// and the first one, the http:// that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If you have an https:// that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. And there's FTP:// for File Transfer Protocol. If you've got a URL that starts with one of those, it's an absolute URL. It's from what's called the root level. If you're inside of a site and you want to say where you are from the beginning of that site, you start it with a slash. You can also navigate your way around a website. This will make so much more sense when we get in and start writing our own site. All right, you're going to see all of this stuff. All right, all of these though, here with the href, those are how we get our hyperlinks. All right. The content of a link should be text that clearly indicates where the link is going. Product list, services, shopping cart. We shouldn't say in here, click here to get some interesting information, where the word here has got the hyperlink. No, that would violate this SEO rule that you see right there. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about lists. Here are two kinds of lists, an ordered list and an unordered list. So, again, I like to just keep going back to this to show you this stuff. Again, I'm going to bring this down. Just put it right there. All right. So now I've basically commented out virtually everything I have in my site. So I'm going to hit enter a few times here. And I'm going to put down a paragraph tag that says, these are the members of my family. All right. And in the P tag. Now, I'm going to put them in here twice. The first time, I'm not going to put any order to them. All right. So I'm going to put in what's called a UL, or an unordered list. All right. And those are made up of list items. And let's say I'll put in my youngest daughter, my wife, my oldest daughter, me, and my middle daughter. All right, I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it again. Let's just run it right from here. There is an unordered list. They're just dots there. There's a few other things you can set it to. We're not going to worry about that right now. But I'm going to take this. How about this? These are the members of my family in no specific order. All right? So that's an unordered list, a UL. Then here are these are the members of my family in youngest, now we can say oldest. Oldest to youngest order. All right. Chloe is actually the youngest. Taylor is the oldest daughter. So that's the actual order. But since it's an ordered list instead of a UL, I put in there an OL. So UL for unordered lists, OL for ordered list. Notice the difference. Dots, numbers. I can change these dots to squares. I can change those dots to circles that aren't filled in. I can even bring in my own image and use that. These I can make numbers, or alphabetic letters in lowercase, or alphabetic letters in uppercase, or Roman numerals in lowercase, or Roman numerals in uppercase. Again, you will see all that stuff as we go on in here. And image element, you must put in a source tag, because that's the image. You typically put in an alt tag, all right, which means that basically in here, if the image doesn't show for some reason, that's what will show instead. And you can put in a height and a width. All right, so to show you that, let's grab something here. So to keep it simple, I'm going to come in here. I am going to go out. In fact, I'll do it here. I'll go out to Google Images, and I'll just pull out a picture of this weekend's, how about a puppy? All right. And, oh, it doesn't matter which one. Let's grab this one. So I'm going to do a right mouse click here, and I'm going to do a Save Image As. I'm going to save it right to my desktop, and I'm going to call it Puppy. Puppy.jpg, JPG. We'll talk about what that JPG means later. All right, but now if I go out to my desktop and I take a look, sorry, I've got so much stuff open here, but there's the puppy. How do I know that? It says puppy.jpg, and there it is. Now, it tells us the size if I put my mouse over it. 275 wide by 183 high. So 275 by 183. All right. So I'm going to put in here image source equal puppy.jpg alt equals cute little puppy. All right. For now, that's all I'm going to put in. Okay, let's run this again. And there's the picture of the puppy. Now, again, I could put in, I silly forgot, but .275 by 183. I can put in there width equals 275, height equals 183. Now it's not going to look any different. All right, so once I come in here and I refresh, it looks totally not different. But what I've done by putting in that information is I've let the browser know how much space to set aside for this. Now, what if I typed in this? I purposely spelled puppy wrong there. Remember how this says cute little puppy? Well, watch what happens. Cute little puppy. So that alt tag is used for a couple reasons. If I put in a wrong file name, or if the system can't find the file for whatever reason, or if you've got someone who's sight impaired, that alt tag will let them know what the picture is representing. So if I come back again, put a P in there so it's spelled correctly, come back and refresh, there's my puppy back again. All right. There's an image example. Again, we will have a whole chapter where we talk about image formats. JPEGs are typically used for photographs. GIFs are typically used for very simple logos. And PNGs are kind of a combination of JPEG and GIFs. All right. Again, always put an alt tag in. If you have something that's just being used for decoration, you know, maybe you've got a border around your screen or something, put in an alt tag with no value in it. All right. Here's a simple web page. They give you the HTML for it, and that's fine. I'm not going to get into that right now. That's it for this chapter. So we have now put another chapter to rest. In the next chapter, we will be going over Chapter 4. And Chapter 4, I believe it's 4, 5, and 6, are going to allow us to examine or talk about the use of CSS. So Chapter 4, how to use CSS to format. Chapter 5, how to use the box model. Chapter 6, how to use CSS for page layout. All right, so that's what will be coming next. When we get done, we'll have 2 more chapters, and then we'll be finished with this first section. So I'll be back with that shortly.